are listening to a One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast that tells the stories of craft beer in Minnesota and beyond. So kick back, relax, and grab a cold one. The show starts now. Hello, my name is Dan Bobian, and I write, produce, and host a One Pint Stand. I'm ecstatic that you're listening. This episode of a One Pint Stand is proudly sponsored by Wandering Leaf Brewing Company. Wandering Leaf is a fantastic, family-friendly brewery that combines lush greenery with dynamic craft beers. Their spacious taproom is located just south of Highland Park on West 7th Street in St. Paul. Make sure you check them out. On this episode of a One Pint Stand, I head over to Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative to chat with their operations manager, Jeremy Matheson, head brewer Sean Lill, and Eric Santerud of West Coast Hop Breeding and Santerud Hop Consulting. We chat about the beer that they brewed for Farm Aid. The beer is a hoppy lager called Fam. We talk about how the collaboration came to be, the innate connection between craft beer and agriculture, and a joyous first taste of this sensational beer featuring a single hop from West Coast Hop Breeding and malt created by Two Track Malting in North Dakota. So let's head out to the Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative tap room for my beer conversation about Farm Aid with Eric, Jeremy, and Sean. Cheers. Welcome to another on-location episode of a One Pint Stand. I'm your host, Dan Bobian, and I'm here at Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative on a rainy Thursday afternoon, and I'm being joined by some great folks here. We're going to talk about Farm Aid and Fam, the beer that Farm Aid made. Is there a slogan for this beer?
I think we can just go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Beer
All right.
that farmers made.
The beer that farmers made.
Yeah.
And I'm not just here by myself. I'm with Jeremy Matheson, Eric Santerud, and Sean Lill. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, or I guess we could say the tractors and oxen of the conversation. I do all my own sound effects here at the One Pint Stand. And we're gonna have some fun today, boys.
I like that you don't add those in later. You just have them on
no,
the
we got to do it in the moment.
This
was
production
live.
is
In the moment. This
upgraded.
is what true podcasting is. So let's go around the table. Say your role in this project.
Sure.
Your favorite fall beer. Your favorite Willie Nelson song.
Hey everyone, my name is Eric Santerud. I'm a hop consultant. I'm here because these amazing independent farmers that I work with called West Coast Hop Breeding. It's a collaboration of 5 different Oregon hop farming families, small farms in Oregon. We bred the beer. We bred the hops that are being used in this beer. And it's hard for me to pick a favorite Willie Nelson song. On the back of my car, I have a perennial bumper sticker. It doesn't even have a year on it. You know what it says? Willie Nelson for president.
Yeah, I know that.
It's just going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there forever, honestly. But I might have to go. Trying to find this on my.
Just start singing it. That'll be the.
There's just way too many to choose from. Right now, my wife and I farm. We have we milk our goats every day, twice a day, and there's a tape. We got a tape player in the barn, and then the tape player is Willie Nelson's Stardust, which is an amazing album. Very slow and kind of sad and blue, but also happy. I'm trying to think of my favorite song off Stardust, and I can't. The specific name is escaping me, but where I'll land is if you have not gone into the Willie Nelson discography, like if you're just like Poncho and Lefty, great. I mean, amazing song. But you got to go listen to Red-Headed Stranger. You got to listen to Willie, Shotgun Willie. Double Barrel, is that the name of the album? It's the one with the shotgun with his head in both of the things. Shotgun Willie, the album, and Stardust, the album, and Red-Headed Stranger, the album. Those are just every song on those albums are incredible. And Redheaded Stranger especially is like a concept album, which is a story of a guy going through like love and loss, and all the songs are interconnected, and there's this theme that's woven through. It's going beyond the Willie hits is something that I cannot recommend enough.
Okay, that's cool.
Mine's easy. Roll me up and smoke me when I die. Because I secretly hope that's what happens to me. And I feel like I could convince Sarah to do that.
Well, I've tried
Well,
to
did you
convince my
introduce
wife
yourself,
that I want to
Jeremy?
be
Yeah,
fed.
Where you're
Oh,
from?
sorry.
I've been trying to fed to the wolves in the Como Park, and my wife said that's illegal. I said, not if it's in my will. And she said, that's not how it works.
She's lying.
Who's Jeremy? Where does Jeremy work?
Anyway, yes, I'm Jeremy. I do operations here at the brewery,
Which brewery?
Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative.
I love that place.
It's a great
do
spot
too.
here
It's
in
not too
Northeast
bad.
Minneapolis,
It's not too
right
bad.
on the river.
My role in this project was as I was showering at 7:30 in the morning and the announcement was made that this event was happening. I immediately stopped what I was doing, got out of the shower, and started to email.
This is a children's podcast.
Sorry. Put on a robe.
There
And
you
then
go.
I started emailing and texting everyone I knew to see if they could make a connection to Farm Aid, because I have always wanted to make a beer for something like this. I've been a huge fan of Farm Aid, been to several shows. Like, this is totally in my wheelhouse. So I reached out to everybody I possibly knew to see if I could make a connection, and somehow we miraculously made it happen.
That's really cool.
Jeremy was on the phone with other people before he even told us what was going on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
We were
immediately.
making the beer before the brewer even knew we were making the beer.
Yes.
Always better to ask for forgiveness
Yeah.
than permission, right?
So yeah, I'm Sean Lill. I'm the head brewer at Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative. Hooah! Hooah! My role in this was obviously brewing the beer, but I did have a question for Dan. I am a 5-timer on your show now. I count,
That's right.
I figured, so I'm just wondering where my jacket is.
Well,
Is that the most all time? That was my
Sean,
question.
I've got some
Gold
great
jacket,
news for
green
you.
jacket.
You know, everybody expects a 5-timers jacket because if you were a child of the 80s and grew up watching Saturday Night Live, you know that when you become a 5-timers club member, you get a robe. Well, I got something better for you, buddy. We're going to go back between the grain bags, and I'm going to give you a 5-minute back rub that will literally be unforgettable. And I'm talking about you're probably going to need to tap into your FSA funds to go have some therapy afterwards, because there's going to be places that you didn't know you had knots that I will find. I'm like like a stress badger. You know, I go and yeah. So that's what you have to look for. You have been on here 5 times. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And no, that's nowhere near the record. I think Cable has stock in this podcast
Yeah,
at this point.
he's been on
Oh,
here
yeah, it was
quite a
between
few
you and
times.
Cable.
His last name is Patreon.
If he cable left o Patreon. If he hasn't been on here the most times, I know he's dropped the F-bomb the most times because he, you know,
No filter.
no filter on that guy.
That's
But,
all right.
Yeah, I
I
am.
am looking forward to my 5-minute back rub. The grain bag's probably not so much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're gonna have to disable the security cameras back there because I do wear a costume. It's a luchador mask, and the rest of it looks like B. Arthur from the Golden Girls. So it's very innocent and pure. So it's real fun. So you're the only 5-timer. I don't know if all of a sudden people once they reach that 4 time, like, I'm not going on your podcast anymore. Well, I'm really excited to talk because I'm gonna admit my ignorance here. I know very little about Farm Aid. So I'm going to rely on the pro here, Jeremy, to kind of talk me through, like, I remember it as a, I mean, I'm 46 years old, so I grew up in the 80s. I remember hearing about it, but other than it being, I'm assuming, a fundraiser for farmers,
Yep.
talk me through what Farm Aid is.
Yeah, so Farm Aid was a nonprofit that was started in 1985 with Willie Nelson. And it was really a way for them to raise money for family farming, as we were seeing, or as they were seeing around the country. It was family farms were really struggling. You were seeing it become much more corporatized and land being bought up, and it was really a struggle for small family farms to continue making a living doing the thing that they love best. And so it was started back then and has continued to be a year-long festival every year. Moves all over the country. And yeah, it's now their board has a huge cast of unbelievable artists that sit on it, including John Mellencamp, Neil Young, Dave Matthews, Margot Price now. So it's become something much, much larger than just a small nonprofit trying to raise money for family farms. And despite all the work that they do, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to help support local family farming, which I think is really neat. And the whole event throughout the day is really cool, how they highlight local family farms and ways that people can support throughout the year. And the fact that we had an opportunity to be a part of this was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, Farm Aid takes place on Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium, the football stadium on campus at the University of Minnesota. I got a question. How far in do they announce the location and the venue for Farm Aid? Like, how long did you know that, it's coming to Minnesota?
I think we just knew when they publicly announced it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't know
June.
How long. Yeah, I don't know how long behind the scenes they work on finding a location, but we found out. Yeah, maybe June.
Yeah.
And it was. Yeah.
Okay. So I want to talk about farming a little bit because we've, in many ways, shapes, and forms, I guess we all kind of have some kind of connection to farming. Eric,
hi.
You are a farmer. And Sean, you're a brewer. Jeremy, you're very
He eats and
involved.
drinks things.
You should see my
Eats and
zucchini.
drinks things.
They're huge.
Yeah, it's a great time for harvesting vegetables this time of year. So, and I go to the farmer's market, but my wife is an agronomist at the University of Minnesota. She works in the malt category, so she works with barley and things like that. Barley, I know they have a hops growing program now at the U of M, but she's mostly involved with wheat, barley, winter barley, and silflower. So I have a tenuous connection, but I want to know, I think when people think about farming, they automatically think about, what you eat. But farming is much more extensive than that. And I think, if you think about farming and you want to go support local farmers, you're going to your farmer's market, your local farmer's market, or you're growing your own vegetables. I know I've been waging a war with the deer in the neighborhood of Como Park. I this year I went all in. I ordered 4 cubic yards of garden mix for raised beds, and I redid my garden. I spent a lot of money and moved it all and put it all in there, and I went crazy with tomato plants this year, more so than I've ever done before. And I started going out there. I'm like, what is nipping the tips off of these plants? Mm-hmm. It's deer. So I went down the deep dive, like, how do you keep deer? I don't have a fence. I've never had this problem before. This is not the first time I've grown tomatoes.
Just get them like a salt lick.
I nobody suggested that on many of the Reddit forums.
Bait them to come sooner.
Yes.
Come to your place more.
Is that the trick? No, that's not. Okay, so well, my solution was I landed on this stuff that is like a spray, and
Look, here's a straight up. There's these motions activated sprinklers you can get. That's what we use. That's what we use.
All right, and that does the trick.
They will scare you if you walk past them at night and they turn on. You'll be like, oh,
that'll be good.
Oh, heck.
Yeah. So next time, I guess I'll do that. Do you need to do like irrigation, or how extensive are we talking? Like,
I mean, you need a hose, a garden hose,
yeah.
and then
So
you
it's
need
just
a
that?
9-volt battery inside the thing, and it usually lasts like more than a year. So
okay.
Or you could just get like a sound machine that sounds like a shotgun. That's a sensor. It'll just.
Jeremy's full of good ideas.
I've just
then
been
the
playing
deer-
my podcast episodes on a speaker.
You
and
think
they all
that would
just
keep
come-
them away?
Yeah, that's right. It certainly does.
Did you get that spray that if you get on your hands or whatever, it just
So this is what
stinks
happens.
so much?
You got the stinky stuff.
I got whatever it's called, liquid fence or something.
Yep.
And it smells like a combination of eggs and what probably happens to the New York Jets offensive line after some sort of chili feed. And I spray that, and that's been that's been working. But oh my god,
Yeah.
it is horrible.
You got to wear gloves because if it dribbles down at all and gets on your hand, it does not come out.
I came inside once, and I must have had some on my finger. Karen was like, Jesus, did you shit yourself? I'm like, no, it's probably that stuff that's keeping the deer away.
Yeah.
And it worked for a while, but then I went out the other day and they've come back with a vengeance. So
I like the sprinkler idea better.
It works really well.
I'm going to have to do that next fall.
stinky.
You know, whether you're growing your own food, whether you're buying, that was a fun little foray into the world of gardening. I don't know how often people make the connection between farming and beer, but for sure there are ingredients that go into beer that are farmed locally in Minnesota. And, you know, out on the West Coast, Eric, with Oregon, Idaho, Washington, there's a huge hop growing, the Willamette Valley, Yakima Valley, all that stuff. I wonder if, and Eric, I'm going to ask you, do you think that people are as cognizant or mindful about the breweries that they support and the beer that they buy based on where those breweries get their ingredients?
No, absolutely not. Unequivocally, no. And also, that's not like to say anyone listening should be like ashamed. There's a lot of things we got to care about, especially now, about where we spend our time and our money. But also, like, just like broadly speaking, there is way more awareness of the agricultural side of beer and macro beer than craft, which is one of the many sort of like things that make me cynical about craft beer. But it's just like, heck, you know, like they have this big fight ongoing between macro brands of, you know, lager that is passable but not really enjoyable, about how much American farmers they're supporting by this, by what ingredients they use or not. So they have it like, you know, then what is it? Busch Light makes John Deere cans every year.
Yep.
And it's like, they're really trying to push that story. And it, you know, from a marketing standpoint, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of corn and you can get that in America, but the farmers are not getting paid anything for that corn. You know, and so lip service towards farmers is common.
Yeah.
Actually talking about and fighting for farmers, you know, money, having farmers earn a living, you know, and I always like to say, like, it's very hard to earn a living farming, but if you're lucky, you might earn a living. And in the meantime, there's oodles of money made off the backs of farmers who might make a living, who definitely have an off-farm job for healthcare, who definitely have a spouse or a partner or someone who's working off-farm for just stable income. Yeah. And I don't know, the state of farming in America, if people actually understood it and then compared that to the amount of hoop and holler that's given towards farmers and sort of from corporate interests primarily. Yeah, no, I mean, I wish, I always have wished, and I've always seen it, that craft beer and an interest of the ingredients in the beer they're one and the same.
Yeah.
And they actually are. I mean, like half of what birth craft beer is like, no yellow piss, and like, you know, there's no corn in this. This isn't like this isn't full of adjuncts. Like, this isn't the cheapest possible way to make a beer that you will find acceptable. This is a beer that tastes really good.
Yeah.
And ingredient quality has always been a part of the story that craft beer tells craft beer consumers. Ingredient provenance or ingredient influence in ag markets and what sort of options or opportunities that offers farmers, or what sort of winners and losers these ingredient purchasing choices craft breweries are making. That's invisible to craft brewers, to say nothing of people purchasing their product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting, or I think it is interesting, that when you talk about affordability, that supporting these smaller family-owned organizations, it isn't really more expensive.
I'll just say the hops that I work with are cheaper than the average price of a hop that a brewer would expect to pay these days for craft beer hops. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of them are quite justified, and then some of them are the corporate profit motive.
Sure.
It's like, well, I don't know. Here we are, a small community brewery. This is not a corporation. Legally, it's an entity, but it's not a corporation. There aren't 7 levels of management. Like, we're sitting here with 2 of the. But the point is we have all these craft breweries that are legitimate small businesses, family businesses, and most of their ingredients are coming from massive multinational corporations that can have value still, yes, but you can only be so big where before money is the number one value that drives the decisions that you start to make. Because if you don't only care about money, you don't become one of the 3 biggest hop merchants in the world or one of the 2 biggest maltsters in the world. Like, money drives that.
Yeah.
And no offense to anyone listening who works for either of those places, any of those places, or believes in any of those places. This is Eric's opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I think there are, I mean, for every big entity of whatever supplier you're looking for, there are small mom and pop maltsters, hop growers, different things like that. And I think that that's one thing that people need to know about. And so I think understanding that connection between the beer and the farmer, I mean, like you said, it's almost, I don't know what the word is. Yes, money drives everything. And so, like, if you're trying to, like, make your bottom line, there's choices that you have. And I think that certain breweries could, if they really want to, they want to talk the talk, but they want to walk the walk as well. Like, they could buy more from smaller places.
It might even be cheaper, but it wouldn't be as easy. I mean, this is like the thing. Like, you think about a restaurant, like the vast majority of restaurant food is off of like 1 to 3 different companies' trucks.
Right. And
like, it's just, did they buy the A grade fries and then you're going to pay $15 for a side of fries, or they buy the not great fries and you're going to pay $4? And it's like, well, they're all getting off the same truck. The truck stopped at that restaurant before it came to this restaurant. And there's a ton of convenience in that system. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking away from any of that, but I just think that, for craft brewing in particular, craft breweries have a set of front of house or like social media public values that many of them stand behind very strongly and believe in. And it's one of the great things about our industry. But then in the back of the house is just like a completely, I don't want to say like amoral, like there's not a values choice being made, but it's really it's way more like reputation and who knows who, like which sales guy is the one that liked you when you signed that contract for hops,
sure,
or that you liked the most when you signed that contract for hops. Not so much like, is this company treating its farmers well? Is this company anything more than greenwashing, their social values or whatever? And I think that I don't know, I mean, brewers have more on their plate than investigating everything that could possibly be known about hops. But it is a place where I think that many craft breweries could find like distinction, inspiration, and like maybe some balm to the cynical burnout of being in this space for so long that a lot of us feel.
Yeah, I think going back to Jeremy's point, it was surprising to me how little difference there is in price between the big maltsters and especially with malt, but hop farmers as well, and going to the family route or the smaller route. It's you think that just because you're getting it through a big company that you're getting like a much lower price.
Yeah.
And then when we started this project, and especially without it 2-track malting, the ones that supplied the grain here, like this is the exact same price, maybe even cheaper to get this malt, but you don't think of something like that. And to Eric's point, it's a lot of the convenience factor because we have people right in town here that can send it that day,
right.
I mean? But it's not like a big box store compared to a mom and pop sporting goods store where you see a huge difference in price.
Right.
Here you don't see that, but I don't think anybody thinks about that. I think they just automatically think that it's going to be unaffordable to go with a family farm, and it's not.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's important, like, to have conversations like this to educate people in the industry that might have some of those same assumptions, because then there are more options.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it also takes work, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like as a brewer, you have so much going on, from building a recipe to kegging the beer in the final stage. There's so many steps that go in, and one step that's easily overlooked out of convenience is, where is the grain coming from, and
Where are the hops coming from? Yeah, where are your
Yeah.
ingredients coming from? Because
Right.
it's just so much easier when you're rushing or when you have limited time. It's just like you said, it's just easier. Being
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. There
and
it
as,
is.
and as you go through the process, it's like, okay, where the person before you is going to tell you, you order your grain from BSG.
Yep.
You order your hops from XY, wherever. And so, like, at no point have we ever been like, well, why do we order our grain from BSG? Is it just because it's more convenient, or is there another option out there? Like, should we be more consciously thinking about these things? Because, to your point, just as much as the consumer doesn't think of beer as food, all of us here don't necessarily think of beer as food. It's not forefront of our minds, but it should be.
Yeah.
We should be saying,
I mean, each ingredient, this is, one of the things I try to hammer is this, it's a nice positive casting, because it should be. I mean, like, I don't hold anything against, I know I come off as grumpy or cynical or whatever. I mean, I'm a farmer and I farm long enough, and I've seen it, and that's just what happens to you. But because you just kind of stop with some of the niceties, and you're just like, I answered your question, just like, no.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
And like, that's not like a media training when to answer any question directly. But I just think every ingredient purchase that a brewery makes is an opportunity to support independent family farms. It's an opportunity to support the type of agriculture you want to see. It's an opportunity to support either a family farm or a company that has values that you want to see. I mean, it is an opportunity for a brewery to walk their talk. And I think that's growing. There are many breweries very interested in that, or at least brewers very interested in that. And I think that, to me, the next iteration of craft beer, when we talk about what does it look like 10 years from now, part of that is there will be a segment of craft beer where, like, the ingredients matters to their consumer base.
Yeah.
And that'll be part of how their consumer base identifies with that brand or with those providers. And that's why they make the choices they make. And I'm not saying that's going to take over craft beer bigger. Like, no, hazy IPA is still going to sell the most. But there's niches here. Like, craft beer is a niche. And so there's this opportunity, I think, for people to make really intentional purchasing decisions with their ingredients.
Yeah. I think that's great information. So I want to kind of come back to Farm Aid. So we're here at Broken Clock. Talk me through how the connection was made between Broken Clock being a part of Farm Aid, and then tell the story of how that's going to look, and maybe what it's going to taste like.
Yeah, so the connection, so when they made the announcement of the event happening at Huntington Bank Stadium, I immediately was like, we got to make this happen. Like, I don't know anyone. I don't know what to do, but here's the deal. And I literally just started emailing and texting everybody I knew that may have a connection. So literally people in the radio industry, people with the Minnesota Farmers Union, anyone I could think of, people with Live Nation that I knew. I reached out to everyone I could possibly think of. And the interesting part was they eventually reached out to me because so many people were telling them that you should team up with this brewery, this cooperative brewery, to do a project. And they have eventually reached out to me, and I was completely blown away. And so once that happened, my first call, once they said, hey, let's get on a Zoom call and talk about maybe doing something, my first call was to Eric to be like, hey, would you have any interest in making this beer for Farm Aid? If there's one person I could think of in the industry that would have a passion and truly care about this type of project, it was you. And
This
so
is a dream come true. I'm so glad you did that, man. This is amazing.
Yeah, seriously. And we just sat down and we figured it out, and we said, okay, this project's a go. Let's make it happen. I met with the team at Farm Aid, and they had never done anything like this. They had no knowledge of beer, really, to be honest.
And just like all of us, beer was a drink and the ingredients were separate.
Yeah. It was really, they're like, oh, I never even thought of, beer kind of being a part of this thing. And what's interesting as I've gone down this path of putting this whole thing together is I've learned that, to Eric's point earlier, there's so little knowledge in the beverage industry as it comes to how it correlates with local farming. And I've learned so much. After Farm Aid this year, I would love to team up with Farm Aid every year to just kind of continue this thing as they go from city to city and really try to grow this whole farming to beer connection that just isn't necessarily there in the front of people's minds. But after we sat down, we had this initial Zoom meeting, and it was kind of funny. I didn't even realize it, but as I'm having this Zoom meeting, I have my Dave and Tim posters in the background, and the lady from Farm Aid's like, "Oh, I see you're a fan of some of the artists." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you could say that." But yeah, literally that's how the connection was made. And then, Eric was the one who really connected us with, obviously, West Coast hop breeding and two-track malting, and that relationship was forged from there.
Okay. And so, Eric, do you want to say a little bit about West Coast hop breeding and kind of say, maybe what it is, kind of some of the products that you grow and partners that you've had in the past, and some success stories of people that have really been happy with the quality of hops and kind of the level of kind of more hands-on service. I know that you're very involved and you're very knowledgeable, and I think that right away, I'm sure that puts you on the short list of any brewer who would, okay, I need advice, I need some hops. Eric's my guy.
If they know me and they're willing to hear information from someone who's not employed by one of the major sellers, then I'm on Instagram all the time talking to people. That tends to be the way brewers like to talk.
You're also kind of a no shit guy.
Oh yeah, no, I won't. I'll just
like,
tell you what I think, and I won't be influenced by I don't know. The hop industry is like this game where I always say it like this: a third of the folks are well-meaning but don't know what they're doing. A third of the folks know what they're doing and they're not well-meaning because they're there for money, and then a third of them care about it and trying to do good and know something. I made pins for those folks that say thank you for being part of the 33%. If you have those pins, you know who you are. So West Coast Hop Breeding is a collaboration, like I said, of 5 family hop farmers in Oregon, longtime growers, various sizes, various relationships with some of the various private breeders and their contracts for growing. They grow a lot of public. They grow now also their own. So West Coast Hop Breeding was founded by these farmers. They were looking ahead. They said, hey, look, Oregon is a tougher place to grow hops than Washington State. Then we're getting into some nitty-gritty details.
Mm-hmm. Is that because of climate?
Yeah, it's just cold. It's wetter. And wet is bad for hops, more disease pressure. So they set out to breed hops that would thrive in Oregon's climate. Also, at the same time, most of the hops in America are grown in Washington. The vast majority are grown in Washington. So if you're a proprietary plant breeder, you're a plant breeder trying to get it big, you want your variety to grow well in Washington. You don't care how well it grows in Oregon. And so Oregon farmers are falling, and we're falling behind on the new proprietary varieties that were driving the market. So anyway, so they started doing their own breeding to breed hops that would grow well in Oregon. The tagline is sustainable hops for the future. The idea being you get hops that grow well in Oregon's climate, are bred for that. They take way less inputs. They produce more output. That means it's more efficient for the farmer, a lower price for the brewer. Everybody wins. And so the variety that they first released and named was called Mackenzie. That has been in the market mostly under Haas for a while. They signed an agreement with Haas, one of the 2 big distributors. And then our current second one that we're working on naming is called West Coast Hop Breeding 102. It's the experimental name. And anyone who knows me, this is, as Jeremy said, like no BS. Like I think Mackenzie is a good hop. It's not great. It's not special. It's not bad. It's not good. I mean, it is good. It's just not bad. And there's just there's a lot of hops in the world, and good hops are good. You can use them. It will do things for you. You will be happy with it. It's not going to change the world. 102 is a special hop, so it's not good. It's not great. It's special. And that's actually how I met these farmers. I take it upon myself to get samples of any new hop I ever hear about and rub it, and I put it in my little hop journal. And I don't know anything about these guys. I don't know anything about West Coast hop breeding. I mean, I'd heard of Mackenzie, but I got this sample of this hop, and I was like, wait, what? Like this is, I rate all my hops. This was the only hop to get the rating that it got since Nectaron, which is a hop that has made an enormous impact in craft beer and hop forward flavored beers. And 102 is like that, half the cost and grown domestically. But all these things, it's just like and so it's just, I'll just wrap up by saying that like this is the exact type of thing I want to be doing in this industry, working directly for some of the best people and some of the best farmers who have a big picture understanding of what's going on. I mean, one of the things that they're okay with me saying, which is this is a point of distinction in the hop industry, because you can't say bum about the Kings if you're one of the farmers, because they'll just cut your contract. They don't need your acres. They'll give it to someone else who kisses their butt. That's my 2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old butt. But they're willing to talk publicly about the importance of, there is the sustainability in the hop market is like all the rage, and every new hop variety that comes out, you can look at all the corporate press releases. Oh, and it's so high yielding, and it doesn't need any inputs, and like that is all just like that is never. There's no way to answer that question definitively. They can just say that, and they're going to say that because right now they think that sells them more hops. But I get to talk about supporting West Coast hop breeding, that there is no sustainable hop market without strong, independent family farmers. The direction the hop market is going in is not towards strong, independent family farmers. The direction is going towards enormous corporate control of fewer and fewer farms that, yes, they're owned by families, but the money and the financial and all of that is being decided for them by the corporate functionally sponsor. They're becoming factory farms for hops, and it's happening right now. It's happening because of sort of the rise of craft beer, shaking up the power dynamics. And now the power has moved from the very, very big macro brewers to 1 to 3 very, very big hop merchants who own the varieties that are in every beer that we drink. So I'm going way too deep, but you asked me about beer, ag, and hops. Yeah. And you know this, we could do 5 hours.
So would you say that a lot of the new varieties that are coming out are almost built on the backs of small farms and
the new varieties, like the breeding process in and of itself, the little quirk in there is that the private breeders, West Coast hop breeding included, have access to the things that we've produced publicly. There's a public breeding program that our tax dollars have paid for. Everyone gets to breed out of that. But guess what? If you release a hop that is like maybe one of the best hops ever and has a lot of market share and acreage share, and you use public parentage, we never get any of that back, we the public. You just got to privatize all that capital and all that profit because this is America, baby. And that is a part that is doesn't meet what I would see as like a moral way of doing business or existing as a society. But from like the varietal perspective, no, but just like the, what it's done, like the fact that every hazy IPA uses one of the same 3-ish proprietary hop varieties, that's made the owners of those varieties incredibly powerful. Some of the owners are farmers. Farmers can exploit farmers. I mean, we don't get into like theory around power, but like you can be a rich farmer and exploit other farmers to your end. And it's a tough time, and it's not something that anyone has to care about. It's a tough time in way bigger reasons than like what's going on in the hop market. But it's what I know. Yeah. I was a hop farmer. It's what I care about. It's what I understand. And frankly, like, I enjoy drinking beer, and I'm not going to buy beer from a company that does X, Y, or Z publicly or doesn't support a cause that I care about. Yeah. I also try to avoid beer. I mean, it's hard. That support companies or market practices or like downfall of independent family hop farmers that I care about. Yeah. And that's my choice. But I think if other people knew the implications of the choices they were making, whether they were a brewer or a drinker, they would make different ones.
Well, that's why, man, every time I sit down with you, I learn something. And I think that's really powerful. So this experimental hop, WCHB 102 experimental hop.
I think it's going to have a cool name someday.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're enjoying a One Pint Stand. My aim is to help spread the word about craft beer. Enjoying craft beer is a passion of mine, and I love chatting about it with other people. A One Pint Stand has a goal of helping breweries tell their stories. I love to get out in and beyond Minnesota to visit breweries, beer bars, and meet other interesting beer people. If you're also into those things, you will probably want to keep tabs on the show. So go ahead and follow a One Pint Stand on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and Mastodon. I also started a TikTok account because I was tired of Charles calling me a boomer for not having one. I would also appreciate any and all positive reviews on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts to help make it easier for other craft beer listeners to find us. If you like reading about craft beer, you can check out my written work on aonepintstand.com. I love to write, and that's where you'll find a lot of written content covering both the local beer happenings and my craft beer travels. I truly appreciate you listening and taking time to enjoy our stories. Now, before we head back to the show, I want to talk about the upcoming Wandering Leaf Brewing Company Oktoberfest and Equinox celebration. It's happening on Saturday, September 27th from noon to 10 p.m. You can catch musical acts from Ryan Leachelt Sound, Bad Habits Brass, and Blue Hound. Of course, what is a party at a brewery without some great beer releases? Well, you can enjoy their Fest beer and Doppelbock flowing as free as Billy Ray Cyrus's mullet on a breezy fall afternoon. I bet you're wondering if you can drink the Fest beer in a stein. Well, the answer is yes. In fact, you can pre-order your stein for $30. This price includes 2 free drink tickets for the party. Now, if you want to buy a stein at the door, the day of the festival, you can do that too. The cost is $35. Oh, and there's going to be food too. Nordic Dogs, All Square, Red Rocket Pizza, and Northern Light Bakery will all be serving up delicious eats so you can keep the party going all day long. Sure, you could book a flight to Munich for Oktoberfest, but wouldn't you rather party in St. Paul at Wandering Leaf amongst the fun people and plentiful pots of plants? I'll see you there on Saturday, September 27th. Cheers to Wandering Leaf Brewing.
How about a beer?
So that is the beer. That's the hop that is...
That is the only hop in here.
Only hop that's in this beer.
Single
Now,
hop.
magically, there have been 4 pint glasses have appeared on the table. Ooh,
We're all smelling the beer.
that's right.
When Sean
this
first
is-
put this beer down in front of me, I smelled it. You all saw my reaction.
Yes.
It smells like 102. I know that smell. I know what 102 beers, even this style 102 beers, like exist as. You nailed it, Sean.
Thank you. Yeah, well, there's a lot of it in here.
So this is FAM,
Yep.
the beer that Broken Clock brewed in collaboration with West Coast Hop Breeding and 2-Track Malting out of North Dakota.
Yep.
So it's a West Coast Pilsner.
It's a hoppy pills.
Hoppy.
Yep.
It's a hoppy Pilsner.
Hoppy pills, which is a category.
Yes.
It's a judging
Thank
category.
goodness. I like it.
Yeah.
I
I
like
call it
the
happy
category.
Pilsner.
Yeah.
This is very... So, all right, Eric. I'm not the hop expert. I understand what hops do. I very seldom... Hops are tricky for me to pick up beyond like grassy, floral, fruity, and things like that. Explain some of the characteristics about this experimental hop that you are really excited about.
I also agree with you that it is hard to go beyond floral, spicy, whatever. I'm not a sensory scientist. I don't have the best nose. So what I like to think about hops is like, what's the characteristics of the aroma first?
Yeah.
Dan is now smelling the bag of West Coast Hop Rating 102 that I brought for us to kind of compare with the beer. But 102 to me is a hop that is bright, clean, and sweet. Those are the characteristics of its aroma. And so it has aroma things that it smells like. I think 102 smells like lime zest. I think it smells like pear. I think it smells like citrus fruits. I think it smells like tropical fruits. I can come out in beers like blueberry. Brewers say all sorts of very descriptive things that I trust them on about what it is, i.e. what does it smell like. But it is definitively bright, sweet, and clean. And you put this beer down and I smell it, I'm like, that just smells like 102. I mean, it's peary, it's lime zesty, it's sweet fruit. There's an intensity to it. I mean, there's going to be people who open their can of Farm Aid Fan Pills at the event and they're going to be like, I didn't order an IPA. I mean, they're not gonna like turn it back, but like this is hoppy. Like this is a hoppy lager.
Yeah.
Like we're not joking here. And that is what 102 can do in a beer. I mean, in a lot of beers, but this style, just 102 is great. It's great in this.
Yeah, so it just combines both worlds. So it's got the crisp, like really clean finish of a lager.
Yeah.
And that drinkability. I mean, this is 4.8%. So it's just got a killer drinkability, but up front, she's all hops. Like, and it's a really unique balance in this beer between that really mild grain base and the lagering time that it took, all that combined with this beautiful bright hop that's just popping up front. It makes for a really drinkable but sessionable beer. Like you can have, this is a perfect beer to be at the event because it's not one that's going to fill you up and you're going to walk away from. You're going to get more of it.
I love this style of West Coast Pills hoppy lager because it's like, hey, let's challenge the idea that everyone's got on their head that hops are bitter. This beer is not bitter.
No, it's not.
This beer is not bitter. Even not even bitter for the like category of Pilsner. Like Pilsners could be more bitter than this, but it's way hoppier than the average Pilsner.
Yep.
Amazing.
I think what I like about it is it's very bright up front. And, sometimes when I'm tasting something, if somebody says a descriptor and I'm trying to like, what is that? Like, what am I? And you said pear and lime zest. And now all of a sudden, like, oh, wow. Yeah. There it is.
And for those of you listening who know about lime zest hops, there's another one, Zumo, that's really popular and quite nice. 102 is more limey. And I'm not doing that as like a comparison or competitive thing. I think Zumo's an awesome hop, but it has more intensity to it.
Yeah.
Like Zumo in this same beer, the beer is very different, even though both of them we just talk about as lime zest in the industry. 102 has a depth and an intensity to it that is part of why I put it in the special category. It just, and I know I'm saying this as the guy wearing the hat at the table for the company that the farmers that created this hop, but like
the shirt too.
And the shirt.
You weren't at that table till you sampled.
Right, exactly. I mean, this is whatever. You already gave me the best endorsement ever that I don't do BS, but it's just like this hop is really cool, and this format for this hop is excellent, and this is an excellent. I've had a lot of West Coast Pilsners, hoppy lagers made with 102. It's an interesting style. People want to try the hop. It happens a lot. I've had a lot of beer, West Coast Pilsners made with hoppy lagers, whatever, we all call them different things. Cold IPAs, kind of sort of, but not. But like, I've had a lot of this beer with this similar recipe. This is a very, very good iteration of it.
It is. So you mentioned Zumo. So Lupulin did a West Coast or a hoppy lager with Zumo, and that was really good, clean. A lot of similarities. If there's a Venn diagram comparing and contrasting these two things, there's a lot in the middle. Kind of that drinkability really comes to the forefront. But when I think about drinkability in a beer, I think about balance. You cannot have balance in a beer without malt. So tell me about the malt in this beer. What was that like? And if you want to talk about working with 2-track malting out of North Dakota.
Yeah, so again, Eric really drove this beer, and he hooked us up with the folks at 2-track. Because we went to Eric and we asked him, like, we're looking for a family malter, like a family farm to get our grain from. And the first place he brought up was 2-track. and it's out in like the middle of North Dakota, near the Bismarck areas where they malt. Their farms are a little more west, out near the Badlands, and this is actually the Badlands Pilsner malt that we used here.
Okay.
And it's just a really clean Pilsner malt. And I say this to farmers and maltsters, and I never mean to offend them, and I always tell them that. But there are certain styles where you don't want to taste the malt. You just want it to do its job, stay in the background, but provide like a nice, clean base without. And what I mean by that is some malt have characteristics of nuttiness or grassiness or things like that that will stand out in a beer. There are certain styles, and this is one of those styles where you want the malt to have a very specific job, and that's to provide the alcohol and to provide a little bit of sweetness without a lot of unnecessary flavor coming through. There was a very big malt that almost everybody uses that a couple of years ago I got turned off of because it started to get way too nutty for me. And you just don't want those characteristics coming out in a hoppy forward beer.
Right.
You want the grain to take the back seat. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't mean to offend the farmers, the maltsters, or anything like that, because they did a great job of doing exactly what I want this to do. And this Badlands Pilsner did exactly what I wanted it to do. And the chew test, I always call it the chew test, when I just take a chunk of it and I eat it and just see what it is. It's a great malt. Like it's sweet, it's crisp, it's clean. It's not offensive to the palate at all.
You just want to add milk and go to town.
Right. Yeah. But that's exactly what I wanted. And these guys do a great job. And I've got another beer coming out with their Munich malt. It's a Dunkel beer we're going to be releasing later this month. They do a great job out there. Yeah, and it's really well done. It's just they come from two farms?
Yeah, 2 farms. They're related. The farms grow barley for big buyers too, and they saw an opportunity, not unlike the hop farmers with West Coast hop breeding. They're like, hey, we sell to the big hop guys, and we sell direct to some big brewers, and we do all that game. But they're just like 2-Track. The 2-Track guys are smart too. They're thinking about it. Well, what if something happens to that game? I can't have all my eggs in one game's basket. And so 2-Track went and said, hey, look, we're going to keep growing barley, but we'll grow some barley for ourselves and bring it to market ourselves. Honestly, it is the rational choice to make if you're a farmer in a lot of these markets and you understand what's going on.
And some of their grain is very unique, but sometimes unique can be bad. People are just doing things to be different and trying to start trends or trying to these are unique in a great way. Like their Dunkel or their Munich, their Denhoff Munich is the best Munich I've ever tasted on the chew test. It's fantastic. It's so sweet. It's so bready, but it's so mild at the same time. It's not oversweet. So many Munich malts can just be way oversweet. This is such a good balance. I don't know.
Almost like too caramely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this one is just, it's got that biscuit breadiness to it, and it's just wonderful. And this Pilsner, this Badlands Pilsner, was exactly that. It just had a mild sweetness to it. It wasn't offensive to the palate. And Jared, one of the owners, came through town, brought us a bunch of samples, and we knew right away, we got to go with these guys. Because we tasted the samples on the spot, and he was actually on his way through with his family to a beer conference down in North Carolina.
Okay.
And he was driving through, and he's like, I can bring you guys samples. It just happened to be when all this was happening. We said, yeah, come through.
Okay.
He stopped in for about a half hour, and he's a great guy, great company. But the malt is superior malt.
Okay. So once you've sourced the hops, you've sourced the malt, kind of putting the recipe together. What's your normal batch size, and what's the batch size of beer that you do for this kind of an event?
Dan, can I add a question for Sean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sean, can you also talk about your hop schedule for this beer? Because every time I talk about a hoppy lager, hop schedule comes up. Specifically, how does it relate to the lagering time? And
No,
when do you do the hops in that?
Also, let's define
Yeah.
what does hop schedule mean for people.
So hop schedule, it really just breaks down to when you're adding the hops in the beer. Hot side and cold side. And by that, hot side is during the brew process. Cold side is in the tank, in the fermentation tank. Hot side hops were actually quite light in this. A little bit of bittering, some mid hops during the boil. Pretty good dose at the whirlpool, so at the flame out at the end. I was trying to limit the bitterness here and get more of the hop perception, and that's why Eric was saying this is not a bitter beer, but it is a very hoppy beer, and that's why it's because of when we added the hops. And then this has a massive dry hop addition to it. And what's important about dry hopping for me, there's a process, not to get too scientific, biotransformation is where you're getting the hops to do their job, basically. With ales, it's easy because you're in a warm temperature, you're in a very hop-friendly environment. With lagers in a colder temperature, it is harder to get those hops to do what you want them to do, so the timing is quite different on when you dry hop. And when I dry hop this, I still want there to be some active fermentation. So you ever see those videos of geysers, hop geysers, people adding hops to a tank, and then all of a sudden the tank just blows up on them? That's because they're adding hops during active fermentation. There's CO2 there's nucleation points, bunch of stuff happens, but it's because there's active fermentation going on. So this is a tricky hop addition because I try to catch it with about 90% of the fermentation done, but enough fermentation left in the tank to still stir those hops up.
Sure.
And mimic, being that there's active fermentation, it's mimicking an ale style when I'm hopping this, because an ale, you'd wait until fermentation's complete, and then you'd add the hops. In the lager, because you're at a colder temperature, you want there to be a little bit of fermentation left to work those hops, to stir them up. Lack of better words, to stir the hops for you. But,
and then you've lagered this beer now too, yes?
Yeah, so that happens, like I said, about 90% fermented out. That happens. And then at complete fermentation, I will do a step crash where I slowly crash day by day instead of just, and crash just means we're dropping the temperatures from the fermentation temperature down to the settling temperature that's going to sit in the tank.
Okay.
And most styles of beer, you just do that all at once. You'll drop 30 degrees at one time. With a lager, I like the yeast to clean up as it goes. So I'll drop a little bit incrementally day by day.
And doesn't that also prevent potential off flavors developing?
Yes. It lets the yeast continue to clean the beer. As
your lagers are so good, Sean.
I appreciate it. But yeah, and then once we get down to the crash temp, this sits in the tank for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another thing I love about this style is like this beer is objectively hoppy. If we went around this tap room right now and gave people samples, they'd smell it and be like, it's an IPA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the aroma
tastes like it was hopped yesterday.
Yes, and that's
deceptively
one of the things that's so cool about this style is like, no, he didn't just like drop hops in before this glass came out. It kind of smells like it, but it did a full lager cycle. Still very hoppy. There's all these sort of ingrained misconceptions isn't the right word because it's not like, but like we think lagers aren't hoppy, ales are hoppy ales are bitter, and like none of those things have to be true.
Right.
Yep. But
to
be fair,
education.
A lot of that is because of our hop schedule. The reason it came out the way it did and taste the way it did is because of our hop schedule.
That's why I asked, because this is an excellent execution of the style.
Yeah, this is very, I mean, I don't like to have favorites of beer styles because, I'm a teacher. Students are often asking me, have you ever had a favorite student or a favorite class? I say, no, you're all my favorites.
Of course you have.
Well, yes, we all know. We all know when it comes to beer styles, if you listen to this show often enough, you could probably guess a few of them.
Multi Madness.
That's right. This is hold on, wait. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. It's oopsie daisy. It's Oh, God. Where is it? I need reading glasses.
Hit them all.
I can't. That one. This is really drinkable. And I think that showcases balance. It showcases, so this is the anytime for people listening, if you get a chance to come across a beer that is only using one hop, do that. Get that beer. Because you will really be able to wrap your brain around what that hop is. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, and maybe this is why hazy IPAs don't necessarily do it for me as often as other styles, because it's really hard to pick out, a solitary hop character when there have been so many hops used at different points in the hop schedule. Mm-hmm. I think with this, like you said, you use some in the hot side, some in the fermentation side, and it really shows the versatility of this ingredient. And the malt does its job, like you said, Sean. Yep. It provided the base, but it really also allowed the hops to really shine and have their moment. This is really good.
That's the thing, going back to 2-Track, is they do have malt, and their malt is good enough where if you wanted to make a beer that you want to showcase the malt, they have the malt for that beer.
Yeah.
But they also have the malt for this beer where you want it to be in the background. This beer showcases the hop, and it should. The style showcases the hop, and the malt that we used in here did a great job of standing in the background and letting the hop shine.
Yeah. So, again, for the listeners, we're drinking FAM, a hoppy lager brewed for Farm Aid, which takes place on Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. So it's a big event.
Huge.
There's going to be, it's an event for music lovers. It's an event for beer lovers. It's an event for people who love a good cause. How many barrels of this beer did you have to make?
So we made...
Or not have to. Did you get to make?
Yeah, so we made 30 barrels of this beer. So usually our batches here range between 10 and 15. The average batch is about 15 barrels. We knew we were going to need a lot of this, so we doubled it right away. And we're canning a whole bunch of it. We're going to have a lot of kegs as well, and we will have some other events collaborating with the Farm Aid folks. We're going to have other events outside of the big event, the big Farm Aid, just some kind of hype events around it.
Okay, talk about that. So if somebody... Now, there are tickets still available for Farm Aid.
Yep.
But if for some odd reason somebody can't make it to that event to get that beer, where else will they be able to experience this?
So Jeremy can go... What I'll talk about is we will have it here, and we are doing proceeds to the Minnesota Farmers Union with sales of this beer in our tap room. But for satellite events, Jeremy's been setting a lot of those up.
Yeah, so we'll be in the stadium, obviously.
That is an enormous win before he moves on to the next things. One of the things that Farm Aid does, anywhere it goes, in their contract to have the biggest names in music at your event venue, they say you got to take your contracts with the corporate whatevers for your food and now in this case some amount of your beer. You got to take those and you got to ignore some of that stuff because we're Farm Aid. You can't be selling hot dogs made with horses from some other country because it makes the biggest profit margin for
Horse meat, very lean,
very lean for your contract with your guy who does the hot dogs. You got to have hot dogs from family farmers. You got to have hot dogs from independent family farmers. You got to have all this stuff. And so that's why it's so cool. It's the first time I've ever done beer because they haven't pushed beer as part of their agenda. Imagine going to a farm at an event to support family independent farmers, and it's like, yeah, here's a bunch of beer that's like mostly with imported rice.
Yeah, no,
Yikes.
For real, to see, one of their biggest policies as they go through and they say with these contracts, if you want us to come here, you have to abide by these rules.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it, because we're not adjusting.
This is so sick, by the way. This is so sick. Like,
Yeah.
just the idea, like, yeah, it's nitty gritty contract law, like, blah, 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 boring. But, like, no, like, that's where dollars and cents are made, man.
Yep.
Like, Farm Aid understands that. That's one of the coolest things about them. They're like, no. Independent family farms need to make money.
Yep.
That is what we're focused on.
Yeah, and it was awesome. And so, you know, one of the interesting things and one of the biggest things for them is no GMOs. And when you think of like previous events and the beers that were there, you know, in the back of your head, you're like, man, I could call out so much hypocrisy in what we have going on here. So when we were talking about putting this beer together, that was one of the things that they spent a lot of time ensuring that we were abiding by all of these very strict rules with how we were going to make this beer. And so that was a really cool thing to have to think about, is like, oh yeah, like, am I really, are we doing things the right way, right?
Yeah.
And so I to get back to your original question, so we'll be in the stadium, and then they have a couple of private events surrounding the event with local farmers and things like that, different dinners and all of that, and we'll be able to have the beer at all those events, which is going to be really, really cool. And secretly, I'm hoping that I can meet some cool people.
We just got to get Willie to have one sip.
We just got to get him to hold it. Once
That's fair.
once he sips it, he'll be like, "This is beautiful." We'll get him. And then we're also working on trying to get this beer in as many locations as we can, because I do believe once you can look at the can and you can look at the relationships that are forged, I think it will get at least some people to start asking questions of why. Like, why did they choose that? Why is this, why would Farm Aid choose this really small cooperative brewery to make this beer when we could have went to some of these really, really big breweries to make this beer? That would have been probably a much smoother process. Why did they choose the smaller brewery? And it's because we were willing to say, we absolutely believe in all of those things that you are asking us to do, and we won't compromise and take a shortcut in order to cut costs for things. We're going to make sure that we do it the right way on behalf of those small farms that this organization supports.
Well, and a question I have is, as you kind of look back on years, have there been any other instances of Farm Aid partnering with, a small, on the grand continuum of brewery sizes, I have to imagine that Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative is, if not the smallest, on the very end of that size spectrum.
Yeah, as far as I know, we're the first beer collaboration with Farm Aid. It's always probably been
historic, folks.
It is historic. It's always sort of been an afterthought with beer, right? Because again, you don't think of it as that piece that's connected to local farming, and so I think we really pushed that from the beginning, and in order to kind of get us to be able to do this was us pushing all of those things and how we support and how we appreciate family farming, especially when you look at our roots as a cooperative. Like that's what we're all about. Like we aren't about large corporate interest. We're about small individuals making small contributions that lead to something much greater.
Yeah.
And so that was the impetus of really kind of pushing and saying, like, this is something that's really important to us. And we take everything that you're saying extremely seriously, and we will do everything that we have to do to be a part of something that needs attention, that every single year goes kind of by the wayside. And you look at some of these farm bills that get reintroduced every 5 years and reevaluated, and there's just some scary stuff that is incorporated and that the federal government's trying to do in order to make an extra dollar. Like, again, I'm sure Eric, we can go into this for days, but it's scary, man. Like the local, the small farmer has his work cut out for him, and that's outside of the fact that they work from dawn to dusk. It's wild.
Yeah. Well, I think there's going to be. It's going to be interesting that maybe there's going to be some eye opening. I think there's going to be a lot of eye opening, but also from the standpoint of, wherever Farm Aid goes, hopefully this collaboration between West Coast hop breeding, 2 Tracks malting, Broken Clock can be kind of like so in whatever city it is, maybe that's going to get some inspiration for a small brewery in that area to kind of have that same mindset. Maybe think about, okay, who are the local farms that we can work with and put together a beer and really kind of like, again, get into the whole, spirit of celebrating the small farms.
It can also maybe the Farm Aid organizers and the people involved in that who didn't tie brewing and beer into farming before.
Yeah.
Now, when they go to those cities, they're looking for the brewery to collaborate with. Maybe this is the start of a yearly collaboration where it's maybe not brought on by the brewery, but they're coming in and telling them they're wondering what they're looking at. Because, like we said at the beginning of the show, beer is often overlooked. Brewing's often overlooked when it comes to farming. Everybody thinks of food, clothes. Like, the only reason any of us have clothes on right now is because of farmers.
And those blessed plastic factories.
Yeah, and the plastic trees. But for real, like, nobody thinks of beer, and maybe not even the people involved in Farm Aid. And maybe this is like one of those things where, like, damn, we've really overlooked this, and this is something that we really should embrace, keep in mind, like, and understand that beer is ag.
Yeah.
This is something that I would love to continue to pursue after this year, no matter where it goes, is to continue to...
Unless I retire. Willie Nelson holds my can up, and I get a picture of Willie Nelson holding a beer I made. I'm retiring.
Sean, you can't retire as a member of
You are a member owner here.
as one of the many owners, one of 1,800, is it? I think, and
That's
counting.
amazing. Hey, that's great, you guys. 1,800.
I'm not going to sign off on that. I have a vote.
I have a
And
vote.
I will chain myself to the
They
brew
got too
house
many doors here. You
if
need
I
a
have
couple
to.
more folks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the spirit of this collaboration is absolutely wonderful. The execution of the beer is amazing. That people are going to love this.
Thank you.
And what did you say percentage-wise? 4.8%?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just perfect. That's right in Mr. B's wheelhouse,
There you
as
go.
they say. Yeah, that's really cool. So you can, if you're listening and you're like, wow, this beer sounds amazing. How do I try it? Well, you can go get Farm Aid tickets. It's happening on Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. I'm assuming it's going to be on tap here in the tap
Correct.
room.
Yep.
It'll be in cans,
Yep.
draft accounts. So, closing thoughts. What's a takeaway? If somebody's listening to this, they're into craft beer, or a brewery is listening to this, a brewery owner is listening to this, a head brewer is listening to this. What's a takeaway? When it comes to considering trying to partner with a local farm.
From a brewer who buys ingredients, who orders ingredients, the big thing is the obstacles that you think you're facing, whether it's time or money, convenience, they're not as big of obstacles as you might think. I ordered this grain, and within 2 days, I got the grain. It's 1 day slower.
Yeah.
You just have to be 1 day more prepared.
Yep.
That's all. The price was minimal difference, and honestly, the shipping was less. So it almost balanced itself out between the shipping and the cost of the ingredients. So all these things that you think of that are going to be hard because you're going with smaller, because you're going with family farms, it's not as great as you think. You just have to do a little bit of work and look into it and research it a little bit, and you'll find that you're going to find, honestly, higher quality ingredients by going with this, and at very little to no disturbance of your regular routine.
Yeah. And, I would encourage, if you're a brewer looking to really jazz up your hop game, talk to
So soft.
West Coast hop breeding folks and get some WCHB 102 experiment. WCHB 102. We play nothing but the hits.
You can
is
hit
very
some
close.
hops with a hammer and they won't break down like this. I just squeeze this with my fingers.
It just smells so good.
Yeah.
Smells so good.
You know
It's
what I'm
also
gonna say?
about the people. Like when you
Yeah.
were talking about like advice, like, a lot of times when you deal with larger organizations, you deal with people that are salespeople. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, everyone needs to make a living, right? Like it is what it is, right? But when you deal with my experience in dealing with some of these smaller organizations and these families, it's just how like genuine they are about what they do, like the product that they make and how proud they are of what they put together.
Yeah.
And to be like invited out to the farms to check it out, to check out the process of.
Yeah, one of the first things he did was invite us out to watch watch the whole process. He's like, "Come on out sometime."
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to like kind of forge those relationships and see how genuine those people were. And they have an amazing product, and there's like no sales whatsoever in that process. It's all just, we are real people that make.
Yeah. The owner is the owner is the farmer is the salesman. Like, it's all the same person.
I think that's really important. I think that's I think more people should think about how can they foster those relationships, because I have to imagine it's a much more streamlined experience. If I can sit down and talk to the person who grew that product, they're going to know the ins and outs of it. They're going to have advice. They're going to maybe be able to tell me a way to consider using that hop that I hadn't thought about.
And again, what's important about what you just said is they grew that product not to specifications that some company sent them.
Right.
They didn't get a big beer brand that sent them specifications for a malt saying you need to grow this to this specification. They grew a malt. A lot of times, like the Badlands Pilsner, they created this malt. This is a one-of-a-kind malt.
Yeah.
So this is something they really put their heart and love into. And it's just like with craft beer. You can tell the people that are doing it because they love doing it.
Yeah.
Compared to the people who are doing it as a money grab type thing.
Yeah.
Or to make money.
And also imagine like having a conversation with a farmer and telling them, hey, these are the struggles we're going through. This is where we're hurting. This is what's not helping us right now. And having that conversation versus your local sales rep who, when you tell them, hey, I can't buy as much this month because cash flow's in a really tough spot. But a salesperson, they're just going to be like, next. But having a real conversation with somebody that actually truly appreciates your business is a completely different conversation that you can have, and it's just it's much more real and much more, in my opinion, appreciated because of the things that we go through on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fun, really enlightening. Like I said, I didn't know much about Farm Aid, but I'm very excited that you made it all come together. And this is also a good lesson for somebody. If you're passionate about something and you have an idea, don't just assume that it can't happen. Start talking to people. start, if you know other passionate people, get together and you can, maybe your beer will be featured at the next Farm Aid. I just think that's just wild. I think it's crazy. And also the beer turned out tremendously. So obviously with the great products and the great knowledge in every kind of facet that went into it, what a treat. That's exciting.
Support local.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Well, I want to thank you for having a local Minnesota podcaster into your tap room today, because this was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. And as always, I love chatting with you all because you're great people. So this has been an episode of A One Pint Stand, and we talked about Farm Aid, which is happening September 20th, which is a Saturday, at Huntington Bank Stadium. And you got to go there for the music, and you got to have some ice cold Fam Hoppy Lager brewed by Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation of how Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative's beer collab with Farm Aid came to be. If you want to try the beer at the concert, Farm Aid is happening on Saturday, September 20th at Huntington Bank Stadium. It should be a heck of a time. Make sure that if you go, you drink a can or two of Fam, the hoppy lager brewed in collaboration with West Coast Hop Breeding, 2-Track Malting, and Broken Clock Brewing Cooperative. I really appreciate the passion behind this project. By explicitly showing the connection between craft beer and farming, Eric, Jeremy, and Sean will hopefully inspire others to make those close connections and highlight the importance of building unique relationships with local growers. Now, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Brad Ashton, Marcus Dodson, Chuck Dorsey, Vicky Epper, Daniel Fisher, Todd Fitzloff, Laura Fleischfresser, Matt Holton, Cable Lefto, Dave Long, Ben Michaels, Brent Newman, Bree Smith, Jesse Storms, Sarah Crivalento, Cal Vandehoof, and Brian Wu for being Keg Stander level supporters of the A One Pint Stand Patreon. You've all shown incredible generosity, and I'm so grateful for it. Cheers to you all. Before we go, I want to give another shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Wandering Leaf Brewing. Their staff have created a special atmosphere where everyone is welcome. They provide fantastic beers in a laid-back setting. Wandering Leaf is a great community gathering spot in St. Paul, so get over there and check them out. Tell them you heard about them on A One Pint Stand. With that, this has been another episode of A One Pint Stand, a Minnesota craft beer podcast where the pants stay on, but the caps come off. Cheers. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, or I guess we could say the tractors and oxen of the conversation, I do all my own sound effects here at the One Pint Stand.